And let's see. Should be live. Appears to be the case. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to go do some catch up. As I haven't had a chance to actually play the game much this week. It got ridiculously busy all of a sudden. Just gonna make sure that everything appears to be working as it should, as well that my audio levels are correct. I'm going to tune myself down a little bit. There we go. And yeah, so I was hoping to actually be able to have some more time than I did this week. In the end, I did not, and didn't get a chance to play at all or stream at all as well, since my last session, which was Monday, I believe. And so I haven't actually done the manhunt for this week, which is going to be what I'm mostly going to do this week, because I'm curious where story-wise it leads, what the missions are going to be about it. I believe I even haven't actually done anything at all except some just as I haven't gotten any experience yet at all to have it going to that double XP pool. Except for just some minor cleanup on some characters. Also, one of the ideas that I'm going to go in with is that I want to have a look at how St. Elmo will work with this high-end tech tank. As usually, the manhunts are doing with the tech tank solo. Unless I'm doing them in groups or a matchmake for them sometimes, but for today I'll do them solo. And in this case, I'm going to first make this the way it normally is, as this is one of those dual builds set up to take an exotic and go one way or the other. So this is how I usually would have it. And this is, of course, a spotter build, and spotter is not going to work with our friend of St. Elmo's. That means that I'm going to see how I can best alter it. Now, usually I also would take a secondary Scorpio, which I can't here. I'm just going to swap that for a lefty, just as a filler for a second. Elmo should still be on this character. It is. And I believe if I actually go over to something that has no crit chance at all. Even that one has 5. I'll take that one and just to see. So we would be 10 over at this point, just by the Elmo having 20 versus the 15 that the Mantis just had, just for comparison's sake. So I get to put in a contractors. So what I'm thinking of now is basically, so I have to lose some crit chance. Now, one of the ways I could do that is either swapping out this Seska piece, but the Seska piece is going to be more worthwhile, I think, than other options that we have, because we have, of course, all of these double stats here with crit chance, crit damage being both towards crits. My initial idea is to just put in a Picaro and a Gruppo, Picaro and contractors instead of this group and this improvised. So let me see if I actually have. I should have a Picaros as well with crit damage. I do, luckily. So now I have one blue core too many. I should have a normal contractors as well on this character, so that becomes that one. So now I basically just bled 10 or 12 crit damage, which or crit chance, and gained a little bit more weapon damage and a little bit more contract, or the damage to armor from contractors. And I think that will actually be the setup here. Even those while wasting the brand bonus, basically, so the skill haste goes to waste and the LMG damage bonus goes to waste, just because of how diminished the other option of going crit damage would be. Because actually, so this chest, I should have a Grupo Obliterate chest, so that goes in. So the layout becomes like this, and this actually looks reasonable, crit chance, crit damage wise. And usually the reason why you don't want to, because the other option I would have here is to still keep going improvised, to go with these improvised pieces, where I have crit chance, crit damage, and then damage mod as well in there. But the soul stats, these so the 15 weapon damage or the 8 damage to target side of damage to armor, actually in this case, usually beat them out. But then so in the case for damage to armor, it also needs to be active for at least around 70 to 80% for it to even out in what you lose if you were to just go a Grupo piece. But of course, an improvised piece is even 3 crit damage less in effect. So I think I will run it as it is here. Yeah. So I haven't done the manhunt at all. I haven't even had a chance really to look at anything, get spoiled on anything. What I'm going to do is go in with... actually, I'll leave Fog of War off just because I want to see where their spawn locations are, especially later on in the bounties. And we'll just take 3 directives. And there are 3 directives that tech tanks can deal well with easily, with cool skills, fragile armor, and ragers. None of them really impede... where cool skills can impede a red build somewhat. So we're going to that zone. I'm just going to check. So we're starting at the Eclipse Fuel Depot. Wait, this is the Eclipse Fuel Depot. Okay. I wonder if this is I think the first time we've had a control point that is outside of the actual zone. I don't believe we've had that before. So yeah, gonna head in here and just run through this manhunt on heroic and just do it solo quickly. Actually, I'm going to just check what I have as available to me for secondary, and if I want to have something different than the lefty that I've currently have. I'll take a rifle, I think, and I'll take just this one. And that's just to, if I run out of ammo. I'm not going to effectively use the lefty anyway. I'm not going to go for a sledgehammer. I could and should actually be useful for like some fights, but it's not going to be necessary. And sometimes just adding complexity is not the right choice. Interestingly, we didn't get a memento piece, which either means that those NPCs got the final shot, or we got a weak point kill on him. But I think I broke his weak point way earlier than that, so get those resources. This zone can be this CP can be a little bit annoying with a lot of stuff spawning around it. So what I usually do is actually take a half circle around it and clear out most of the other things that could join the fight. It's surprising to me how, for a damage talentless weapon, it actually, yeah, feels a little bit strong. It is, of course, I have it graded to 20, I think, right? Yeah. So that helps. But I'm gonna go over here. I'm going to expect this spawn because haven't been on this character, and this, yeah, this is a named spawn. I take care of these guys as well. Real quick before I head in. I'm gonna get foamed in place here. I'm gonna go for the backpack there. That's gonna CC those 3 guys basically. And yeah, the shock runs really help solo. It's kind of like a lesser memento. Taking the long way around, I could have just taken a left there. It's also gonna lead to me getting a few memento charges. Just so when I head into the CP, I already have a little bit of the armor regen going, a little bit of the damage bonuses. Helps a little bit. I'm considering taking out this patrol, but they're walking away from me, so they'll be gone by the time I when we fight the part convoy. Oh, this is a convoy. That one I will actually quickly just take care of. Yeah, they'll spawn from there, which is where they also spawn for the CP later on. One of the places. One thing I don't want to do is shoot towards the CP too much, because they'll engage as well. If I can avoid making this fight where I'm fighting both, I'd rather just have 2 separate fights.
Eat this.
Of course, the last one always hides a bit. Oh yeah, and double XP is of course active and making everything a lot more lucrative. So I'm not going to call them in. That's what I usually do. I'll just make this into 2 fights. There's no need to... I don't need them here to help me. And the only thing they're nice for is that they are a safety net, so they'll save you on some fast travel, especially with some of the New York ones. That can be very handy thing to have. But here especially, I have a pretty decent close by fast travel point. Even if I die, I can retry it. But I don't expect that the True Sun's CP will give me any real issues. And I usually push in very deep and take a high ground and let them come to me if I can. And this is, with this CP, I very much can. I'm gonna take them all out. The rain is helping as well, just getting their aggression range a little bit lower, making it harder for them to know exactly where you are. That's when they usually get a little bit aggressive. Yeah, that shock is actually very, very useful. I can totally see Elmo's becoming a part that, yeah, it's kind of like the Scorpio or Coyote, like every person needs to have it. Just so...
Control point secured. Well done.
just you always have that, you have the option. And damage wise it works out well as well. Just gonna grab all the memento stacks. We are actually stacked up on memento, so actually I won't go for that one, and then I'll call them in. And this is the reason why I usually keep Fog of War off, is I don't have to guess which way they're coming from and mess around with that. I just know from the minimap. But it is an understandably good way of getting an extra 25% XP. But I'm not so much into going after levels anymore. But I can totally understand people that are, especially if, yeah, you know, the goal of getting out of the tutorial. of getting to that first 1K. Although a lot of people also overestimate how important it is, especially on the PvE end. The first 250 do make a big difference. So especially if you put your points into crit chance on the watch, that's gonna be the most significant one that will help. And then the other ones help as well, of course, getting the extra crit damage, getting the headshot damage, getting the weapon damage. And of course, just utility-wise, getting that extra accuracy and stability after you have gotten reload speed as the first one. All of those kind of help out. But they're not as significant as some people make them out to be on the PvE end. On the PvP end, yeah, it is not insurmountable, but it is a lot more understandable that is an issue. It just gives it gives sometimes most fights you will win by a few percent, and if they have several percent in their favor, then they will beat you more times out of 10 than the other way around. I'm actually just quickly going to check which resources I've used up. Okay, so components and water from the last 2 weeks of the SHC resources thing. So if I see components or water, I'll grab them along the way. But I know then that I don't need food, so I'll skip those. The zone is Seska as well, which is actually one of the more useful brands. Actually, I will have a quick peek at what the targets are. So we're going to go into a striker zone, which is at least handy for me for looting wise, because I know I don't really need any pieces of strikers at all. So I can just deconstruct all of them for their blue resources. I need to start the next part, which is a bounty. I'm curious where they have programmed this one to initially put itself. Okay, so it's by where the ammo depot is. I'm gonna fast travel from the mission, and I'm avoiding the safe house because the safe house would eat up all my memento stacks, and I'll just take a little bit of a longer walk. Especially getting out of that safe house can take a few moments anyway, so this will be fine. Let me just briefly check over there that everything's still working still. And hello Jess, welcome again. Random patrols along the way are always nice and handy. Keep the stacks reset. I'm actually walking into the CP when I trying to remember what the way around was, but that is this route, which is down south. Or actually, well, now that I'm here, I can take the north route. Should have gone. There's a path a little bit more. Basically 1 block south, or one entryway to this building to the south, but I'll take the long way around. Yeah, there are changes to the manhunt structure. Is at least is a shake-up. It's different. Although I believe, if I am honest, I preferred the old way better, where you had complete autonomy in what order you wanted to do it in. But it's also not that big of a... Like, I don't hate it, but I've already ran into issues with playing with friends where they might come on when I've done 2 parts already, and then we basically have to redo. It's easiest just to basically catch everybody back up to the same place and then go from there. Where in the past you could do the other parts together and then like maybe they would leave that other part for when they were solo to go do those parts. But now, because you need to be eligible for every part, if one person has, for instance, already done the first CP and the other person joins them on the second part, it doesn't count for them. Which is also just going to lead to some frustration here and there. That's like, most players that have played for a while know to expect stuff like that. If you're not eligible for it, you won't get the reward. Same for if you join on a stronghold, invaded stronghold or something. When you haven't done the prerequisite missions, you don't get them named at the end, stuff like that. But especially if you're kind of expecting it, then it can be frustrating.
You're going down.
Okay, they just took a while to get out of the doorway. Yeah, it's moments like that where a wave is spawning and you get to lock them in place and basically make them a non-wave is one of the big strengths of Elma. That also, I'll be curious to redo some legendaries with this, like we did last week, was it? I think. Where we took 4 people together with the Guardian buff, but then to see how it goes without the Guardian buff. Because, yeah, the Guardian buff was very much the thing that made it exceptionally easy instead of just easy. Did check that one because I do still have a few unclean ones, or unclean, not completely unoptimized or anything parts. So if that one was with crit damage, I would have taken that. If it was with maxed out crit damage, or actually I believe I only use crit chance and crit damage. I do have a sort of drone hybrid now as well, but that one as well is mostly centered around crit damage.
Time to put an agent down. Take it. Hell.
Target spotted, Sheriff.
And here they always have a tendency to spawn behind you. That's the way we went through this mission here is actually backwards. Usually you end in that courtyard we were upstairs. That's usually where the ending is. Just gonna keep that heavy behind that pillar for a second, and then go in and finish him off.
Hostile radio intercepted.
Great. Another stop on the worst tour of the city. Like, Navy Plaza's cool, I guess, but unless you really like military history or like a true patriot or some shit, it's just like a pit with flagpoles.
Agent, get to Navy
Okay.
Plaza. Target neutralized.
Actually, I didn't catch whose voice that was. I'll actually look in progression in a second, see who we had there as that went completely the wrong way. In comes, and this season's Ava Garcia.
It's not really safe to travel right now. The roads are questionable and
Or is that actually just the target from... Okay.
extra cold and snowy. Maybe in the spring I
I
can
don't actually remember what she's from.
found this group and I think it's smarter if I stay with them for a while. They set up a community in an apartment complex complex outside of DC. They've got
I'm just gonna walk to there.
top gardens.
It's about as far away as fast traveling to a nearby point.
I hope you're getting these. I'm a little worried that you haven't called me back. And now your phone is going straight to voicemail. Mom, call me back, okay? I love you.
Cleaning up the streets one bad guy at a time. Nicely done, Sheriff.
And Navy Plaza is one of those where I will definitely not call them in because there's a cheesy way where you can spawn camp them basically on the defend portion of it. I will clear out any trolls here because they might otherwise join up the fight.
In the fight! Stay out of my way. Cover me! I'm going for...
I love how Isaac's line is basically go around instead of it's right here. The only danger here is if there's someone in that tower. That's why I went out of my way to check that tower very thoroughly, because they can basically shoot over the shield. The way that well, first off, enemies work in the game is that they basically shoot center mass. They shoot towards the center point of your characters, and the hitbox for the shield basically just protects you from that. That's why usually they don't go through it. The only time they somewhat don't do that is actually when you have the deflector shield, and they specifically then have a chance to hit other parts, it seems, which seems like quite a dick move towards the deflector. But it's also, yeah, it balances it out a little bit. But what happens if enemies are very high above or below you, then they still hit you behind the shield. And quite often it can be especially annoying when you are on a ramp or something with an enemy below or above you, and then they just you still take direct damage where you were expecting to be hit in the shield.
CP captured. Good.
I aggroed somewhere up north, or is that's just the turret? Okay, so it's a easy clear, as it should be. CP4s aren't that much of a struggle, except a few ones where it's more of a struggle of just running around a lot, trying to. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, that is actually, yeah, she's the... actually, no, I was gonna say she's the combat, or the, like, the patrol leader of that, but I'm actually not sure if it was that, or if it was the one that was making the... like, the newsletter. But I think, yeah, it's likely the other one, because I think the newsletter one was meant to be somebody who wasn't really part of our crew. So here I'm gonna call them in.
Reinforcements en route.
I'm just gonna use their weak points against them. So here they just spawn from two sewer grates. So they spawn from the sewer grate right in front of me, and the one to my now currently back. Yeah, the Elmo showing its power there a little bit. One thing I do want to do is basically lower... when one enemy is still alive, that's when the next, or when there's only one enemy left alive, then the next wave spawns. So usually what I try to do is at least weaken, if there's two enemies left, I'll weaken one, then kill the other, just so I can quickly kill the other one if I need to. In that case, I did go after that engineer a little bit, but he is hiding very well, and one guy flanking me isn't going to be my end, most likely. I'm just gonna close the distance and finish her off.
Hostile radio intercepted.
Cool. Archives. It's like being back in the library at Kenley. Except you more boring. And with less people making out in the stacks. Where the hell are you taking me?
We're closing in on them.
Okay, then maybe from that phone, then yeah, maybe she was actually the one making that like newsletter thing.
Control point nearby. Supply room access unlocked.
Actually, I can, or not in there, but through here, although finding Kenley, there's way too many things in this list nowadays. And trying to find Kenley College, and might actually even be under a different name, of course, as well. I'll have a try later on.
Wait, show the area.
And hi to Dida. Also curious to see if it's going to follow the same pattern of CP bounty, and then final one, which it seems to. So, going to head into here. And luckily, it's the police, or it's the trying to remember. It's where the Declaration of Independence was kept. The building has a name. I can't remember it now.
Gotta stay awake.
But that's gonna make it an easy walk to get there.
Target near you.
Interesting that there isn't a spot. Oh, did it truly? Okay. So normally most bounties will orient themselves as to which way you're approaching them. So normally bounties would start from that side of the building and then lead to the other side. In this case, it's very much doing the opposite of starting on the southern side. Here we have some underground faction, which is interesting actually. Usually these guys don't come out when the sun is out, but we're likely just at that border of it. And we are. It's 7:30 in the morning in the game. I don't believe I've done this bounty in forever in this direction, where you start from this side.
Yeah, that's right. You all heard it.
We've aggroed everybody inside already.
You bastard!
I think we have a extra wave up here. And I can totally see my aim being quite rusty, but that's usually the case when I don't play for a few days. Huh, I didn't know you could climb up here. Yeah. Or, well, wouldn't be an obvious place to even try it. Yeah, that's actually... But your feet are actually melding through. At least he seemed to be. I mean, yeah, it's... one of the feet is directly through that. Through it. And yeah, here's where you, in the side mission, grab the... I believe it is the Declaration of Independence. Might be some other document as well, actually. But... Okay, so yeah, that seems to be the case with the last bounty as well. That was in like the opposite direction. They seem to have the ability to set the direction that it's going to go into, at least somewhat. But yeah, I had the same with by the mansion, where it was basically the way that, while bounties can go into that direction, it almost never does. And then with those missions, it seemed to be always the case. Is it now out front? Okay. So we're skipping one of the inside rooms where you would normally fight. It's like a library kind of area.
Shooting over.
Because also the name hasn't spawned, and I'm curious to see... Oh. Ah, that's interesting. So it took us outside and then back inside. Okay. That is a strange order of things. Grab these shock rounds onto my rifle. And yeah, these backward bounties can happen from time to time. I've definitely had bounties going the different way in some, but I would likely say 1 in 30 maybe in some of the locations. In some locations, it's very much that it like goes forwards or backwards on whim. The famous one is the ones in West Potomac, of course, the one by where the hospital area is, where the overrun hospital maze is. Which basically, yeah, every time goes into a different direction, seems. And I kill that turret. Shock him, kill him, and then go back. But yeah, some areas are very much set in which way they go into.
You got the target. Nice.
It's also weird that some of them are aligned in the way that the side mission already was set in, because most of these positions are, of course, side missions, especially the buildings and stuff are usually places where side mission took place. Oh, and it's also a viewpoint museum? That is... Oh wait, actually, no. Okay, yeah, viewpoint is in this one. Yeah. I was thinking of American History Museum for a second there, having
You earned yourself
a
another
blank.
bounty. Well done.
But yeah, viewpoint is of course in this zone as well. But it was actually interesting to see that yeah, one of the CPs wasn't. I can just fast travel there. I don't need to walk. Oh yeah, it could actually be the Constitution as well. One of those the kind of documents. Actually, I can tell by because if this one is the Constitution. Okay, no. So yeah, this is because there's no other like that one, right? No, so or is it the Bill of Rights actually? There's one that you pick up in a building, but
Eva's been through a lot. She was finally starting to open up.
I'll be actually surprised to see. I could actually check that if the because that is of course a side mission, and if there's if that artifact is that collectible is locked to a. I don't believe any of the real collectibles are tied to side missions. But it could be an outlier as well. It's been quite a while actually since I've done the base game or side missions from the base game. That's yeah, one of the reasons as well why I'm somewhat considering maybe at some point during this summer redoing it. Maybe even with a fresh account, so I can mess around as well with a fresh level 40 character. Make some content around that as well. Just refresh my memory and then share the decisions I make. That heavy, I'll take care of in a second. Again, this uses the invaded layout as well as all of these missions do, which is actually cool that they remember to do that. It will be an easy thing to forget, but yeah, like timeline-wise with the normal versions and them, we did the invaded version, so the thing, whatever happens after them should be in the invaded version. And actually enemies down here, which is, yeah, not, I mean, usually there's normally corridor you just go through. He was luckily in range of that disorient. Yeah, I wrote the next room. I'll grab the loot because I'm likely not gonna run this mission today anyway, even though it's not going to be scaling any of it. Which is, well, it's down to they didn't want to likely put in any work to change how scaling applies to chests and stuff, because yeah, in bounties areas that will not scale chests in any way. So for them to, if they would want to do that with these missions, then they would have to change stuff, which I understand their unwillingness to do with with their track record as well. It's maybe a good thing. They spawned downstairs. She got very lucky with her weak point being obscured by a dozen things there. And these final missions always spawn way too many guys. Luckily nowadays it's not as bad as, well, also not as enjoyable as some of the older ones. I kind of missed the season 9 and 10 manhunt ones. Where it was mostly elites, even if you were doing it solo, they were actually hard. But then, yeah, people complained and they toned them down, even though they should have done the same thing as with leagues. Just say, if you can't do it on heroic, just drop it down to challenging, which is the max that those could go to. Do I play on low sensitivity? Not really. I don't think I've... So usually what I do with my sensitivity, I'm not super high DPI person or anything. It's gonna be likely in here somewhere. It's actually gonna be on the controls, isn't it? So yeah. I think those are a little bit higher than the base settings. And I'm usually on 1600 DPI. What I usually just do is, in most games, I want to have, if I, so from my wrist just completely extending from left to right, it needs, my character needs to do 270 degrees. That's usually what I base that on. That's usually more important to me than any of the other things. Because that way, swapping between games, it doesn't feel like a great sensitivity swap. But actually, Division was one of the first games that was pretty close to that already for me, where a lot of the games usually want you to have a lot lower sensitivity because aiming kind of matters to them. I'm going to check if my chest on this character is maxed out. It is, so I have no use for that other one. Yeah, basically what I do is standing in front of a wall. If I go all the way, extend all the way to the left, with just my hand, so not moving anything below the wrist, it's 270 from that side to that side. Yeah, the Shock of St. Elmo is making this a lot easier. But that also means now that I likely have to farm a few of them because I will probably want to have one on each character. So that at least gives a goal for farming for the coming time. Actually, this is just resources uninvaded, so... But I'll grab them along the way.
Deploying turret. How's that feel? Got him, man. Move it! Move it! Track your target! Get away! God damn it! Cover won't save you!
Again, they use the... I'm Most of these missions, I'm also curious to see what spawn points they use that normal missions never use. So we've had already a few that have been in positions that were obviously the doors assets that
Rogue agent detected.
normally get used, but then usually don't.
Stand there and take
Although in this mission I haven't seen any weird spawns yet.
moving around us.
I would have been surprised if he was about to get the full heal, but luckily he didn't. I'll just grab that as well. Oh, that one is here.
You're gonna die today.
Yeah, we have one resource back here. Might as well while I'm here. Okay, yeah, most of the ones here usually get used, so be surprised to see one here. Also, likely this is where the boss is gonna spawn. Usually they're one room before the normal boss fight. Which holds true here as well. I see that rocket from my face. Luckily got to convince her to miss.
Shit.
I'm actually gonna close the distance. I have shock rounds as well, so I'll grab this along the way
It's nothing.
and just make this an easier fight. And exotic as well, which is gonna be a chameleon from bounties. And the force multiplier as the named part, which could be a DZ item when you kill those enemies, the final of a manhunt, but not in that case. Just gonna stay here, check if there's a voice line for returning to. Because sometimes they don't play till all of the reward things go away. But no, it just does it as discovered side mission. I'm curious to see what she is. And what her function is, and if it unlocks anything here.
Point identified.
Because, okay, so it's not the firing range. Okay, so yeah, we had some communication things here at the start of the season as well. Oh, okay. Well, let's see what she has to say.
To be back home. Thanks for coming for me. You didn't have to. Well, hope to see you around.
Like that.
We've all got a job to do, and mine's a pretty sweet gig.
Oh, she's the seasons. Okay. So you can get your season thingies from her. What's this then? Just... yeah. Because yeah, normally these are the two things you interact with the start of the season, of just doing busy work and restarting the settlement, but it's interesting that they're still interactable. And hey to you, one time Link, pink. Yeah, and you're welcome. I enjoy making them so very much.
This shit is so boring.
So yeah, they're very much worth it, and I'm glad people enjoy them. That's usually it's always nice to hear, at least, that work put into something is appreciated. So that was actually the manhunts are nice and short nowadays. Because yeah, and the last one got our pilot back. The one I'm most curious about is especially the shooting range here, and if it provides any utility that the other one doesn't. Because yeah, seeing as they're making a new one, they might add some stuff in for testing purposes and stuff. So could be fun, or it could be the exact same copy, and that would be yeah, just a duplicate. Okay, yeah, nice to hear that you found some use for it since going back into Division 2. And yeah, there's a lot of returnees, so I've been having a lot of people commenting that, yeah, that's been quite useful to them coming back, getting a grip on things. And that's what it's for. It's a utility that I hope people find useful, and people can get build ideas out of it, or just copy verbatim from there and have at least something useful to start off with. Yeah, and I've seen it be quite often linked on Reddit as well and stuff. Yeah, it's I haven't been on Reddit much lately. It's I used to be quite active on there as well, but usually nowadays I mostly use it if I'm bringing out a guide or something, just to have it there as well. But I'm trying to be a little bit more active on those as well, on Reddit, on the Discord a little bit more again. So no keepers there. I'm just gonna see what went into my inventory as well.
Good to be seeing you.
And yeah, so this layout as well kind of worked for this high-end tech tank, and actually does boost its utility a little bit, but the other tech tanks are gonna benefit just as much from St. Elmo's. So this layout with having contractors and the Picaros kind of works, but this will likely still be one of the weaker versions of the tech tank. But yeah, it's still more than good enough for all of the uses of going through heroic. What I'm going to do is actually thinking of jumping into either if a zone has electric on it, which it's tied to a mission today, or using a Getica, which I haven't actually seen on the map yet, and otherwise I'm gonna hop into some countdown runs, and think I'm also going to try to farm for a second Elmo, as yeah, I will cut down on moving it around as much as I am. And I think I will just hop into short few runs of countdown to start off with, and then move on from there. So first run in, I'll swap out builds every run. For the first one, just to get a warm up, I'll go in with PFE, a high-end PFE. I want to have that AR and Scorpio, and I want to have a normal shield. I need to modify it as well to not be with to increase my damage, because it can. So let's have it. And yeah, this is just a standard layout for an high-end PFE, although Coyote is normally not the piece used in it, but it makes sense, especially for Countdown. And the Walker and Harris would not be a definitive choice, but I'm going to be very split between AR and shotguns, and this is a Matador, so it kind of makes sense. But min-maxing wise, I could go for other choices. But I am reaching 60, so Seska isn't really a viable choice. I could go Fenris and bump up my AR damage a little bit more. That's really the choice there. And yeah, Intimidate for PFE still works. So, and yeah, let's hop on over into some. I'll do a challenging run. I might do actually a heroic run, but those are very much dependent on on the group. There's no way to solo carry them.
You have joined a group.
And yeah, fun on the if the Heartbreaker is the best tech tank, I would say very much so. Is I would consider it the most reliable one out of the bunch. The Negotiator also works well, especially for stuff like Summit and stuff like CPs. Less so for just running around or farming. But usually I recommend the Heartbreaker as the first one. But it does tie you to that mechanic, which some people have issues with. Because yeah, you do need to stack with it, but build-wise, it works well for that. It can close the distance and use ACS to stack with. So we're fighting hyenas here.
Lockdown protocols activated. 15 minutes lockdown.
Magnetic containment failure.
I'm not seeing way too weird skills on my allies or anything. Although nowadays as well, when people have way too weird skills, proficiency can be just as much of an explanation as incompetence nowadays. Which, so I'm just gonna close the distance, put myself on a flanking side. But he also went down. Oh, we have the close range buff. That was the very first buff we got, so he died very fast. And yeah, that close range buff seems to mostly interact with Firewall very strongly. So if a player with Firewall is close by and providing its close range buff as well, that seems to break stuff most. I was the head of that spear, so I'll go for the objective and just get it done as fast as possible. As yeah, with the close range buff, I'm not expecting these guys to to survive, even to an extent where I can be of use in killing them. Actually, I'm not even looking at where my allies are going, but I assumed here, but yeah, they were waiting for somebody to take action. I did it by accident, so. But yeah, all three objectives were easily doable. I'll go for this one first. I see someone running for the other one, so. But he did not make the full run, which, yeah, the others are now. What I'm going to do as well in the meantime is go after finding where the chest is. Which is on the balcony, because the other two positions aren't it.
Incoming. High-risk hostile.
I also need to check what my targeted is set to in a second. Yeah, the Red Heartbreaker PFE can work as well, yeah.
Area secure.
Or Red Heartbreaker or PFE Heartbreaker or PFE Strikers, both are really good actually for countdown. Just PFE in general works pretty well here. And something, yeah, that a lot of people like. It's quite common to see people running them nowadays. It's gained popularity. Just briefly gonna check that, yeah. Where my allies were, but they're just taking their time to loot. If I had one hunter build for XP farm, should be all red or hybrid. I usually, so yeah, I'm assuming Hunter's Fury in this case. Usually I have mine with 2 blue cores in it in some capacity, and that's mostly just to, I shouldn't have gone for armor. That's mostly just for the shield. Just having a little bit more shield is more valuable to me than that extra damage. Usually that works out that way quite well. But all red ones can work as well. They're very much a little bit a different playstyle than each other.
Rogue striker drone detected.
So one of them is more bruisery, the other one is more of a
Rogue assault turret
just rushes in, tries to hide behind stuff, needs to play it a lot smarter.
detected. Rogue incinerator turret detected. Hostile incinerator turret detected.
Also, usually what you can do is go a memento route as well. That also usually works out well. Especially solo. That will also provide you with a 2-tier shield.
To log down.
The rest of it all red.
Excessive magnetic discharge detected. EMP system purge required.
High-risk target approaching.
Also, actually, yeah, if you mean just the general build, just you don't specifically mean Hunter's Fury for just XP farming. Yeah, for me, that's tech tanks is
Area secure.
and
Agent, you should be able to access that experimental lab now.
the Heartbreaker one, yeah, I would say is the best one. But the Negotiator one can sometimes be a little bit faster than it, which is why I do gravitate towards it sometimes as well. It's just Negotiator its damage output is really high. The Striker one can also do it kind of, but the Negotiator does about the same and can also doesn't need to deal with stacking, especially the Striker tech tank needs to it is with a chest, so it needs to stack to 200 to be fully effective, which can be done. And in my masterclass I showed that a little bit in a mission, I think, where especially solo there, yeah, it can actually reach those high stacks. But the Heartbreaker one only needs to reach 100 stacks, and while doing it is also getting bonus armor and stuff, which helps a little bit with being hyper aggressive. Just
Agent, you've reached the lab. I need you to stabilize the reactor.
okay, yeah. So yeah, speaking specifically Hunter's Fury, I would say
Now, just need a
yeah, just usually 2 blues is my preference, but it's one of those things where it's to taste almost. It's
Protocols activated.
and usually, well, you need to find recordable pieces, but it's not a very hard proposition to find parts to either increase or decrease your blue core count, and quite easily mess around with having more or less. One that I've actually also messed about with and will go on my build collection actually likely tomorrow afternoon during the stream then. I'll plug it in is with Double Companion, which of course currently is a little bit broken, but I think that one will even work still once
Now, I need you to...
once it isn't broken anymore and overpowered as it is now. And that's mostly also to have a Scorpio version of a Hunter's Fury where shotguns didn't have a good chest talent for a while, so they weren't really popular, as popular as they were in the times where Intimidate was very much the choice.
Good. Now, we just need to destroy the magnetic core.
Also, currently I'm just running around as a headless chicken and not doing the thing where I normally do, which is only go for objectives. But others seem to be doing that as well, so going for objectives, I mean. So it's not a big loss, where with some groups, sometimes if one specific person doesn't pay attention and go for all the objectives, you may get into a time crunch. This player seems very much dedicated to staying in there, so I'll start moving towards the killing the objective.
System curtailed. System reactivated.
Seeing as they're going for it, I'm just gonna go after some enemies with my damage out here and help along. I'm set to Electric, which is still looking for one of the parts from Electric, which is the chest with Skill Haste status effect, just as a replacement part. I've done all of the other ones at this point, so I've done all of the gloves that I need and such. And shortly I will be still need to destroy my old golden gloves, which it's gonna hurt a little bit. Those were, you know, they took some while to farm and stuff. At this point, they're just taking up parts in the stash, which that's more valuable to me to have my stash count down and not have old pieces that
Experimental reactor offline. System disrupted.
that LA as well seemed very pissed off that he went down. So yeah, he's been got right. Actually, I should swap to an Elmo, of course, as well here. That extra 5 crit chance. Although I don't have a really good way of bleeding crit chance on this build, I think.
Great work, Agent. The power plant is stable. Now get the hell out of there.
Could go for
Shoot off a flare so Torres knows you're ready to go.
and that's down to not having the opportunity to go any of the named damage pieces like a Fox or anything, because those would also not have the mod slot piece that I would need. So there need to be improvised pieces, and for those the only other option other than crit chance crit damage would be to go weapon handling crit damage to bleed the crit chance. But I don't think it's valuable enough to make up for it. And we're nice and bunched up for the extraction, which is always nice, and not one person just rushing in and scattering them all to the wind. But also, yeah, with the close range buff, this shouldn't be an issue.
Get on that helo. You've got hunters incoming.
I'm gonna close the distance.
System
Second hunter that usually spawns around here has already fallen back, I think. Oh no, there he is. yeah, one thing I usually want to do is move to the sides, leave enough space so my allies can shoot at stuff. One thing that a lot of people do is just form a line in front and just make it actually harder to hit enemies. And seeing as I am PFE, I can actually, you know, quite easily push to the sides and stuff. I do that. Also, it makes it very clear if they're aiming at me or my allies. Because yeah, when they're facing me, I know I have their attention. One thing I want to do is actually go quickly kill this box. I don't want these enemies to have their overheal. It just makes them more annoying. I'm going to put myself within 10 meters here just so that I apply the debuff to them. And of course, I also, with the close range buff. And there I kind of got lucky with... that is a player's striker drone. That's why it did so much damage to me. And that's a player's healing drone, which was also not helping us. One of them was from a level 34 player, and the other one was from a 5k. Which, you know, choices. But you can never know. It might be a player that like has been away for way too long and then has come back and doesn't know Countdown. Like there were players that were into the several thousands, like at the end of seasons, and then. But you would expect better than than that, usually. Just in case I'm gonna... Okay.
Hold tight. To your location.
Just keeping an eye on the timer, and likely one other person was as well.
Let's get you home.
Likely... Well, no, actually we can't. That was nice of them. Yeah, the next chopper is going to be dropping off way too late. It's not worth it. So I'm just going to hop on out. Okay, yeah, if you're low on SHD, as you say you are, well, actually not, but you're not that low. You're halfway there to having a full watch. Especially invested into crit chance and crit damage, and then weapon damage, and then headshot. If you do it in that order, especially, you get the biggest bonuses already into your builds. And yeah, if 2 blue feels too weak, then you can always... Especially if it's not fully optimized on the other stats, but you can move it around basically. You can go from 2 blues to 1 blue, see if that feels better, or to none. And especially if you go without any blue cores, I would say the shield becomes less and less viable, but then you can go other things. Like if you go gunner, especially with the Banshee pulse, like that works really, it's a great opener for any fight. You just open up with the Banshee first and get a few kills in, start getting the disorient from Hunter's Fury going, and then going from there. But yeah, the blue cores are mostly there just for the shield. Not so much for your own armor. And foam works well as well, and blinder firefly can work well as well. Decoy as well can work quite well, even at 0 skill tiers. What nationality am I? Well, I say I'm from the Netherlands, but I wasn't originally from here. I'll leave it at that for myself. But yeah, it's not it's an amalgamation of a lot of different accents into one. So it's not the classic Dutch English accent. I'm just briefly blanking on what I wanted to do, which is, yeah, actually just quickly check. I do have one chest in here already, which could work, but is going to be costly to optimize. It has the same stats, technically, that I have already. And I would be actually fine with status effect skill damage instead of status effect skill haste, which is for the glass variant of the the Eclipse that I run on this character, which is this one. Which this chest was quite hard to find, actually. Even with optimizing it out, it took quite a while. So that one might actually stay in my stash. I'm gonna, just for variety's sake, gonna grab... And actually, yeah, let's go strikers. I'm gonna grab a strikers, gonna make it an obliterate one, so I have all the pieces on this character to go from a normal chest strikers to an obliterate strikers. And that's something that I quite often also have, that with all my eclipses on my characters, just have the pieces on them to go to a normal eclipse. I'll grab an Elmo. That's going to put my crit chance crit damage in a weird spot as well, though. And on this build, I don't think I have a good way of losing that, except with a recalibration on this piece. But I'll leave it as is. I'll just take that hit. It's not a big hit anyway. Yeah, let's hop into a challenging countdown as a Strikers Obliterate.
Invite to another agent's group.
And I just need to remember that I am the full red build now, and I can't run and gun as I quite often enjoy doing on PFE builds or even tech tanks. Just out of curiosity, I'll give a short inspect to some of my allies. That was a 2-piece Heartbreaker, so that should be funny. And usually I inspect my team especially just to know what damage I should expect from people when we reach the first hunter. Yeah, there's a large contingent of Dutch players that gravitate towards Division 2 and stuff. I mean, a lot of... but yeah, some big names indeed are Dutch.
True Sons have triggered a lockdown of the plant. They've been taking over infrastructure to lend legitimacy to their cause. If they control the power, they control this region. We need to remove the safeguards and restart the reactor.
Let's see where my allies spawned on the side.
Reactor unstable. Emergency lockdown protocols activated. 15 minutes lockdown.
Please proceed to your
Yeah, so with this hunter, there's actually
protocols initiated.
it's easier to do with a flashbang than with a foam grenade here, but he basically always goes in there and tries to jam. So 8 times out of 10, like what I did there will work on him. But with a flashbang, it's even easier. That's actually one of the reasons to go some of the other specializations.
System malfunctioning.
I'm gonna attempt to stack. And got pretty high. And yeah, one of the downsides with Elmo, which
System.
Also, the chameleon, of course, has with striker is whenever you weapon swap, you lose all your stacks. But at least on the Elmo, it's a lot less noticeable that that you are losing all of that. Where with the chameleon, yeah, losing those buffs can hurt you quite a lot, just because they take a lot longer to build up. I mean, while we are here, it sucks for the other team that they weren't likely in range for 200 kills. But yeah, administration actually makes the most sense. So I'm kind of just looking at the map, seeing where everybody goes, and then I'll follow them. But yeah, administration is the obvious choice.
System breach initiated.
The nice thing is, though, once you have the shock runs, those don't do... I mean, they work as in the same way as normal shock or, well, special ammo. They will stay once you have them. But yeah, as a striker, one thing to start out with... I'm actually gonna just push through and grab this chest, as I see it's here already. As a striker, wanting to swap between the ACS and the Elmo, you do, yeah. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's almost full, but yeah, I do want to swap. One thing I want to do here as well is I'm not going to use the shield ever. I'm going to swap that for a pulse here.
Critical systems exposed. Data transfer halted. Incoming. High risk hostile.
He himself was in his own range for for his chem, so he died there.
Secure.
I'm just gonna use my... Oh, okay, he respawned. But yeah, the dangers of being eclipsed is don't be in your own chem when it can be ignited. One thing I haven't done in these runs is what I normally do is if I'm planning on doing a bunch of countdowns on one character, then I will stash a lot of items, making up a little bit of space to put the loot in, but I haven't here today. Likely, mostly because I'm gonna swap characters in a little bit just to have access to other builds. And that does mean that I'm looting on the ground, but I can do it fast enough that most people will not notice it too badly. So interesting to see a bunch of... We've had
10 minutes to log
a level 30 something in the last run, a level 45 in this run with a bunch of 200s, which yeah, likely means they are somewhat newer players. It's nice to see some fresh blood in the game. I'm gonna push in towards the objective now. Try to take that down. And dogs are always very handy for stacking up to full. And once I'm full, just gonna let him sniper shot first and then take him out.
System curtailed.
We also likely have a
High risk.
ongoing directive player with us, as once in a while I'm seeing the mark pop up, and also seeing that I have bleed rounds.
Assistance needed.
There is actually a little bit of a shot through there, although it's not very effective, but
Agent,
it works.
you should be able to access the reactor.
I didn't check for the chest here, so I'm actually gonna check here as well. Because there's always 3 positions for it, and it's not that one, it's not that one, then it's by that pillar over there, and nobody popped it. Yeah. This player was doing the same thing. And just quickly checking, we're going reactor. Actually, yeah, in one of my last streams, I said I haven't seen this one in forever, and yeah, that's very much true. I think in close to 40 maybe countdown runs that reactor hadn't come up as the final objective, to the point that I'm actually not even remembering really what the objective. I think it's, yeah, we have to, oh actually yeah, no, I do remember this. We have to hit the button and shoot an electrical box, and then
Now that you're
hit the
in,
button
you
and
need to decrypt the
do
safety
that
code.
again, and then wait in the zone for a while. Okay, somebody has started the first objective. I'm gonna hang around where the second objective is gonna pop up in a second. And just take shots of opportunity when I can. Yeah, at these ranges the ACS would not be very effective, so I'll just stack up with my with my AR. Give a pulse here.
Stable.
Nice. Almost done.
So it's that box over there in a second,
You'll need to run the sequence twice.
and then over there.
Good work decrypting the protocols. You need to remove those controls to get the reactor back online.
Incoming.
I'm a little bit deep into it.
Shock trap detected. Hostile shock trap detected.
I'll go help with the objective.
Great work, Agent.
I'll also right away check for
The reactor and keep
chest.
your
Okay,
hostiles
yeah,
from
this is
knocking it offline or killing you.
this one is always very dark and almost impossible to see. Then we have the defend the zone for a few seconds. I'll just, seeing as I did my part and help with some objectives, I'm gonna spend some time running around grabbing my loot before heading out. Because yeah, the reactor's almost done. Then we have the boss, and then
Reactor online.
okay.
Good work, Agent. You saved the plant.
Also gonna go for the big chest before we head to the
Waiting for your signal.
extraction.
Shoot off a flare when you're ready to come home.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the near extractions. So
System malfunctioning.
there's gonna be one hunter to our left here, so I'm gonna go after him first.
Heavily armed hostiles.
Actually, we're gonna have 2 hunters on the left here. It's gonna blind stack up. Hopefully I have shock rounds in a second. I'm being shot in the back as well by enemies. I'm gonna focus on what's in front of me first. If I go down, I have a hive charge anyway. pulse is available. So yeah, we have 2 hunters on this side. I'm half stacked, so I do want to stack some more. Though, yeah, for instance, there's a point where I shouldn't have done that because I would have been better off getting the shock rounds on the Elmo. I was hoping I was covered enough, but I wasn't. Oh, my hive did not get me. Yeah, I was disrupted at that point. But I should be easy enough to get for my allies. And now, so with a few people here, they shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, I have to be aware that I'm weakened, so I don't end up like that player where he went down twice, and that was the cause of his death. So yeah, while I'm in weakened state, I can't be downed without dying, so... But now that everybody's here, we should be able to just push into them and clean this out. I'm gonna take the long way around and flank. There's no reason not to. I'm going to kill that thing before it accidentally shocks me. My health gate was luckily back because yeah, there was a sniper shot that would very much instantly kill me. I'm going to assist my ally there.
Torres inbound on your location.
That was
She'll get you home.
a little bit soon. But likely also, yeah, one of the lower level players. Which just only means that you lose out on a little bit of loot here in the end. We could have gotten 2 more choppers out of it. Also likely... Yeah, that chopper spawned way too late. It's... Yeah... it's not worth it. It's gonna be at like 4 seconds or something when you... If you go for the loot as well. And then... It's safer to just leave.
Entering safe area.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look if we got... I think I didn't loot anything up. I looted everything on the ground, but yeah, we didn't have a chest in there at all, so... Just gonna see what the proficiency provides. And that's also nothing worthwhile. Let's see how many points I have here. And grab an exotic cache. As these, of course, also can provide any of the exotics, and an extra Elmo would not be something I would dislike. So I'm gonna quickly check how many resources I have for exotic components. Which is more than enough to get another weapon to grade 20, which I should do, as either... actually, I do have a Regulus, of course, already there. Either this Eel Bearer or a Nemesis, as I don't think I have a Nemesis yet at that level. Nope. So yeah, one of those likely will... As they benefit quite a lot from more of it. Could also have a look at maybe getting a skill to 20, but I'm not too fussed about those as... Yeah, the ones, the turret and the drone and the chem and the stinger are really the ones that I cared about, and those are already at level 20. I might take pulse to level 20, but that would just... that would be not really the right choice. So yeah, we did one as a... Striker, we did one as a PFE. Let me swap characters, and I'm just looking at what I would maybe want that build to, or what build I want to go with. I'm gonna put the pieces back of this character that I no longer will use. I'll leave them as this and swap on over. So actually, I'll grab this character, which still should have that Hunter's Fury build still on them, and I'll take that one in. I haven't done Hunter's Fury for... Usually Countdown is a little bit more mid-range and stuff, so...
Safe area entered.
Hunter's Fury isn't the best fit, but it'll work. So I kind of want to see how Double Companion works in there as well. As actually now considering it, I cannot really pop the drone, especially with the Hunter fight, but I'll just be a Scorpio stick. It's gonna check what this character's targets are set to.
Received an invite to another agent's group.
It's just to Hunter's Fury, which I no longer need. And I'm gonna swap it over to Electric in a second after the loading screen.
Communication relay offline.
Cleaners have infiltrated the power plant. They triggered a lockdown. I'd rather not have their slash and burn tactics anywhere near a nuclear reactor.
Yeah, and we'll go up against some cleaners.
We need to get control of the experimental reactor.
Reactor unstable. Emergency lockdown protocols activated. 15 minutes lockdown.
Magnetic containment failure.
And the two lead teams will link up here, just from their spawn positions. I'll go for the objective first. And actually, that just remembered as well. As often as a companion, of course, is so much considered as you have to pop a skill for it. That's, of course, not the only way. Just proximity to allies will cause it as well. Which is something that I actually totally had forgotten about. Or, well, didn't consider when I made the statement of I can't have it because I can't pop my skills here. But yeah, I can just keep proximity to allies. I have the run weapon equipped, as I usually have the Scorpion too, but this build is of course built around the Scorpio.
Rogue hive detected. Hostile hive detected.
This one ally went this way by himself for some reason. That's weird. They're pretty low level. They might not know. But yeah, the nice thing is when both teams link up is that we'll get all of the Hunter tags. Everyone will get all four of them. A little bit more coins at the end. It's not enough to make a big difference, but...
System reactivated.
Why not? So containment seems like the obvious choice. Turbine and containment, kind of. Because the objective is laboratory, so yeah, anything basically kind of makes sense. And we have a hardcore player with us, or a player that is playing a hardcore character. So
Breach initiated.
their death would be permanent. Although once you do lose your, once you have reached gear score, if you die and you make another hardcore character, once you reach the same, once you've reached SHD level, so if you've gone past gear score, then that remains. So you can actually use that to
Functioning.
level up over time, basically. So if you die, you don't lose truly everything, as
System.
is implied by hardcore.
Critical systems.
Your SHD, you have basically, the account has a SHD level that all of the hardcore characters will share, and yeah, once one character gets back to that level that they would have the watch, that they have gone through only then. But of course, getting to that point can take quite a few hours. I haven't changed my targeted loot yet, which I will do now to electric. I've got the chest as well. I'm looking around if there's any other loot, but I don't think so. Team seems kind of split. Most of them are going in a direction that only could lead to turbines, so. And somebody's taking them on themselves as well to call out where we want to go on the raid chat, so. And just for giggles, I'll take
Tech detected.
the alternate route, which Isaac never points to. This doesn't really save that much time unless your objective is very much on this side. So for the warhounds and stuff, that can make a difference because you need to be up here anyway. But for stuff like this, not so much.
Rogue sniper turret.
But yeah, it is one of the more hidden routes.
Hostile sniper turret detected.
I'm gonna go help our
Rogue assault turret detected.
hardcore
Hostile
ally.
assault turret detected.
And still interesting that they, well, that they haven't changed that at all, but also they don't really work on hardcore that much.
Evacuate the facility.
Because it's intended that hardcore characters should not be able to interact with non-hardcore characters. They can't matchmake together for missions and such, or join groups on each other.
Secure.
But in this case, they can. In the case for Countdown. So a lot of players that do enjoy playing hardcore, they use it just to farm back up. As yeah, especially challenging is usually pretty safe. Already saw the chest being popped in this corner, so I didn't go out of my way to hunt it. If on the question of will they remove the double buff, I'm gonna guess you mean yeah, the companion double buff. Likely, it doesn't match his wording, so something is wrong at the very least. So they, even if they were to want to keep it as it currently is, they would at least have to change the wording to match reality. But yeah, I'm gonna guess their intention isn't for that. Because yeah, that is very much out of line with other talents. Like Double Companion will actually on its own be pretty good, just because you can.
I need you to stabilize the reactor.
Then you forgo vigilance as well. Go Companion there, and then you just give up that skill slot for it, even if solo. And in groups, you can play around just being within proximity of each other. And 20% on the chest and 20% on the backpack additive to each other will be pretty fine. It's going to be that's actually pretty in line, and it's going to be easier to activate than stuff like, for instance, Obliterate or Vigilance, where then you have to have downtime and stuff. Especially, yeah, shotguns didn't have a good one for the longest of time, so especially for reinvigorating shotgun builds a little bit. That'll be a good talent as well. But yeah, they will likely fix it to be in line with the wording, which is supposed to be
Now, I need you to expose the
a 20, well, 220s. Or actually a 15 and a 20, right? Actually, yeah, 15, sorry. So yeah, it's a 15 from the normal companion and 20 from the perfect. That's what it should be.
You just need to destroy the magnetic core. You should be fine.
System malfunctioning.
And with the other objectives, I already noticed a lot of my allies are working quite well in going after him, so I'm not being too fussed about rushing the objectives down. I'll let them mostly do it then. And I'll just run around and kill. Well, I'll run around and loot mostly, actually. Just gonna refresh that for a second.
System curtailed. System restored.
Yeah, the drop rates for Hundreys and the named backpack is very much broken. It's insane how many of them drop. Which I'm curious to see what comes out as being the issue there. If it's in the loot tables multiple times or if it's just a broken number or something. I think once they nerf it, or well, bring it back to like its status values, which will be a nerf. I think it will still work for exactly like shotgun builds. For the longest time, didn't really have a good talent. Like this is the only
5 minutes till
good setup that works for them
Field failure.
to make Hunter's Fury
Stabilize reactor.
Scorpios, you know, a little bit popular again.
malfunctioning.
Yeah, I think value-wise, it's in the right direction. It's 35 total weapon damage from 2 talents. That's fine. That would an easy trigger point in just having a skill or proximity.
Experimental reactor offline.
And I think it's actually one of those things that yeah, it's going to be fine enough. It's going to have its own niche with some stuff like yeah, with shotgun builds, which is and it's not gonna change anything about like the meta, because that's gonna still be mostly obliterate vigilance,
Nice.
focus of course as well
Now
in
that's
its
great.
cases, and glass in its
Extraction
cases.
point. When you're ready to
Yeah,
come home,
extract is on
stop
the
flare.
other side of the world. I should go for the chest, which I almost forgot there. So if I think if they intended that in this many jobs, I don't think so. So we've had the same issue a little bit with Relic in the last season. Relic and the other names of that season, which my brain does not conjure up right away. But both of them had a little bit increased drop rates. So with those, I would go maybe intended, but these ones seem exceptionally high. There is, for instance, quite recently I farmed for, I needed a yellow sacrifice, and of course getting a double different color piece is already hard, but from
Stay frosty.
comparing just on drop numbers, so not getting the right drop, but getting just the amounts of drops over time, it's quite different, quite noticeably different between the two. And the Henry and the Lavoisier, I think is how you pronounce that one. Both of those are dropping at yeah. I think 1 in 4 electric pieces is one of the two names currently. Here we have. I should actually swap the Scorpio to the other button because I keep swapping to the wrong one. I'm gonna just take the second here and get our allies back up. I don't want to use my hive on them, firstly, because I don't have a hive actually. Which,
System curtailed.
Scorpio will save me here.
Serious trauma detected.
And secondly, even if I did have a hive, I would want to keep it for myself because it's not uncommon to go down to hunters.
System
I know that guy will be a hunter most likely, so I'm gonna push towards him.
Shoot off a flare so
I know I can't take cover up here from here, but I can do it here. I'm just gonna push into him, and my allies are here as well. So chopper's coming down already, so I don't want to linger here too long, but I'll just grab the loot and go. I'll hang out around here and work on this chopper with them. I should actually remember to use my shield more often because yeah, it's an extra easy 10%, 11% damage. I'm gonna go up for the loot up here first. Actually, I'm not specifically looking for a Henry. I'm looking for a electric chest with skill haste status effect, and that's for a glass eclipse that I'm going to rework. Because I already have a double red Henry. If I get another one, I'll hang on to it because it'll likely be a piece that gets some use, and they might change it to be a bit rarer. So it's one of those pieces that I would say is worth hanging on to even if you don't directly use it.
Let's get you home.
We'll likely be able to get one more chopper out here. Will we? About. Yeah, we can get one more chopper out. Because yeah, named pieces are always a little bit hard to farm for, except for our current two. Yeah, agreed on the Scorpio. I would say if there was a tiering to or a tier list of exotic weapons, Scorpio would be very much in the S class. And mostly it's down to it being very much a weapon that is one of the few weapons, of course, can CC with for itself. So it's that makes it an easy choice to just plug into a build as a secondary. When stuff starts to go wrong, you just grab that one. So I am actually gonna swap those two weapons from position, and I'm just so used to the Scorpio being on the second button that, as that is the case with all my eclipses, and yeah, usually if in a red build, if I put in a Scorpio, it's always there. And I actually want to grab a different weapon to main with, because I have these two 612s that are free talentable. Going to swap one into here. So this is actually the weapon this build used to use, which was based around having a closer chest with perfect spotter. But it never really worked, that one, which is still actually in my build collection. I haven't put this other one in yet. Gonna put the mop away. I don't use it enough. Although it kind of makes sense, especially for solo, that kind of would work. But there's already enough self-healing there on a Hunter's Fury. And then I just need to consider what talent I want to have on it. Which I'm just going to go through the list here and just... because yeah, Close and Personal would be a choice. Pommel will be a choice. Thunderstrike might even be a choice with the amount of St. Elmo's in the in the playlists, or people with running around with them. They'll provide the shock word, but that's not gonna be that enough of an uptime. And that's also always the thing with shotguns as well. There aren't really good talents available for them, or talents, for instance, with ARs, stuff like strains or fast hands and stuff, just go to the top quite quickly, just because they easily make sense. I'll start with Pummel. And Pummel does carry over between reloads, is one of the things. So you'll hit it eventually anyway, and you'll get a reload out of it and that 40 weapon damage for 10 seconds. Killer can kind of also work, but it's just usually less reliable than this. Because yeah, I just want to see how it does with a normal shotgun, and that's also why I'm gonna take this build again into a into a challenging countdown and give it a try there.
Invite to another agent's group received.
I should accept the invite.
You are now in a group.
I'm just gonna... And aces, that's not something I see often in there. Because yeah, not many people try to snipe in the hectic parts that Countdown quite often provides.
Communication relay offline.
Agent, outcasts have taken over the power plant. Lockdown procedures have been initiated. Last thing we need is a radioactive green poison. We need to shut down the broken transformers and restore the power grid.
Okay, we have a few very low level ones, a few very high level ones. That ally is already going. The right choice here would be to go to the left there and join up with the other team, but also I do not care enough to make a concerted effort to change that. That healing hive is not a choice that anybody should make. Although with all of the CC, they're likely... I'm actually staying close to it. If it pops over, I'm gonna destroy it right away. That's usually what I do with skills.
Agent down. Immediate medical assistance needed.
Was trying to go into cover, but the game decided it didn't want me to. I'll crawl over to this cover, which will be a little bit safer for my allies. Yeah, that felt exceptionally weak on our end. And the downside is that means that with how slow we did that part, we are only going to get one dog tag out of this start, most likely, unless the other team is also struggling as much as ours. But that would very much surprise me. We'll get two, I think, because they seem to have just killed that hunter over there. We again have a hardcore player. No, we were not in range. Okay. So admin would likely be the best choice. To go admin containment and then the main mission. Add turbine. And hopefully everybody agrees with that, which looks like it.
Shade tech detected.
Yeah, it is very much. But of course, you have to remember that, yeah, well, there are a lot of Reddit posts and stuff, and or, well, even on all platforms about people not using skills there. Yeah, that's not the entirety of the player base resides on those platforms.
Incinerator turret detected.
Should be able to go in now. I was hoping to not be on fire. I'm gonna go for the objective. It's better to not let these boxes pump out way too many things, because yeah, the longer you let them be in combat and pump stuff out, the harder it's going to be.
Vital signs critical.
Because yeah, once you have several turrets, several sniper turrets and stuff on on one of these points, it can actually be very annoying to get through it. I'm gonna go jump downstairs and put my weight towards here. I'm gonna check if the chest is down there. Nope.
Approaching.
But yeah, people will very much still always, like, there will be always somebody who doesn't know. This is also one of those things, for the rest of the game, of course, it's quite viable to be an, be a skill build, and then with one game mode, it's very much not. And until you know, it's... there are no like easy giveaways, except if you know that hunters fight the way that they do. I don't know why they're going cooling tower, but I'll follow them. One of the things that a lot of people don't pay attention to when picking those things is what the final objective is going to be. If we went containment, it's right next to it. Like, there's this is going to be a lot of time wasted running around the cooling tower. But more important than going for the right thing is to go with the team.
10 minutes to lock down. Evacuate the facility.
Redirect excessive power to stabilize power distribution.
Yeah, we have a hardcore player again, but I didn't pay attention to the name, but the last one, if it was the same. I don't think so, because the other one was like in the 200s, I think. Also, it's quite brave to take it into an outcast one. Because yeah, the huggers here can very much be an easy end there. I'm gonna pop my drone actually to have companion up, which, you know, is part of the build. This is one of the annoyances with cooling tower, is when enemies they have places where they can hide a little bit. Just gonna...
Hostile detected.
We also have a stim chem
Detected.
on a player.
Hostile volunteer drone. Detected. High value
Yeah, and
target.
the damage difference between a 612 with a damage sound, which wasn't even active there, of course, but with like just having a 612 on its own, the damage difference between that and a Scorpio is quite noticeable. But of course, a Scorpio is just providing that utility that makes it so worthwhile. In just shocking and disrupting or disorienting and stuff. Like, but yeah, damage-wise, it's a lot less, and that's mostly down to its third stat, it being crit damage instead of
Area secure.
damage to targets out of cover.
Agent, you should be able to access the turbine now.
Because yeah, the Scorpio would be very much one of the exotics that would benefit a lot if they implemented what they have done with the St. Elmo's and the Sancrum of a talentable or a reconfigurable third stat. Although at that point it should also just be recalibratable because trying to reconfigure for one can hurt sometimes. One ally got confused that yes, there is an objective there, but that's not the one we're going for.
Agent, you've reached the turbine. I need you to fix the power grid.
Curious to see which player that is. You would think at 4K that they would know better.
We need to switch the power over to the new grid.
Because yeah, they did not survive that decision. Because yes, trying to solo one of those things, especially when all of the allies are still nearby. So there seems to be some amount of scaling to the health and stuff of enemies. Although that is speculation still on my part. I haven't done enough testing, but just gameplay file. It feels like there is a little bit of scaling depending on if you're 4 players near enemies or 8.
What the hell was that? I think the floor is electrified.
And yeah, very much in that case, the scaling would be all up to 8 because everybody else was also in range. And then trying to solo one of those positions is just not something that's going to work out for you.
Redirect excessive power to stabilize power distribution.
Just gonna hop on here. So I see the fuse number going up, so I know somebody at least is going for them. And that means that I'll just stick to the killing and let them do it. Should repop my drone because yeah, for a little bit there that did feel quite weak, as I did not have companion up. I will grab this one. It's here anyway. I'll wait for the shock too. Surprising to see that almost none of the players, even though there are several low-level ones, aren't getting shocked. I'm quite used to seeing multiple people getting hit by those shocks, even at decent levels.
You're good to go.
Although I almost did there, and I actually did do there, although I disagree game, I was up here already. I'm gonna go grab my ally over there. They had the thank you on one of the hotkeys, probably. Out of position. Somebody is gone. Okay, nobody went for the final one, so I'm gonna go to. Because yeah, we're not in a time crunch, but we could be. Although it's interesting that like the team seems to be struggling a little bit more. Although, yeah. Oh, he's actually... Oh, he respawned already. It did not register to me that he was down there.
An agent needs assistance. Power grid stable.
So the chests that can be opened, because there's two types of chests. There's the black ones and the yellow ones. The black ones, in every area that we enter, there's going to be 3 of them, and 1 of them is openable. And the 2 that aren't are going to look opened already. And then there's the final chest, and those are the ones that say locked, which are those yellow ones. And those are just only tied to the final objective. So here, currently, it would say locked. It's over there. And then once we've cleared out the main objective, then we get access to it.
Now let's get you out of there. Move to the extraction point.
So they popped it now.
Ready when you are.
So yeah, this chest is just only the final main objective will, once you've completed it, it will become unlocked. But it will still be there in the other 2 objectives, or well, you could do 3 of course as well. But in the other objectives, it's still there, but it will just say locked. And there's no way to open that one, those ones. It's not a long run to the objective or the extraction either, so it's nice as well. We'll have plenty of time to get there. Just gonna briefly... he's a... Okay, he slowed down. Because yeah, the trigger point is just a little bit further. Once somebody steps there, yeah, then they trigger. And it's best to bunch up. There's no reason to solo rush in here. I'm gonna heal up. I usually push up the left side here. One of the hunters spawns kind of over there, but he's already fallen back.
System curtailed.
Here I wanna usually just hang back and see what the enemies are doing. If they push into us, we'll just clear them out there. If, like here, this box especially is... although I have to overextend to kill it, but I really wanted that, so I will.
Vital signs critical.
I got forced into the wrong cover. I'll actually hang...
Rogue fixer drone detected.
The thing is, if I move up... Yeah, no, down here is much safer. If I move up, if I get caught on those stairs, it's actually harder to res me. Here, if, yeah, when they push up to me, they'll easily be able to get to me. One thing, yeah, I have to be aware now is that I am an easy target to die. I'm going to kill this guy, hoping that is an Eclipse fire, which it wasn't. And here I'm just gonna sit in here and just blind fire. Just get damage out. There I will aim just to chain him. But we've killed most things. It's just that 102 hunters in the back. Which, yeah, still can hurt, but I'm no longer in my weakened state. So if I go down, I just go down. and not sure if that's a hunter, but I'll go for them. Okay, it's a normal one, so I'll up my drone as well, as yeah, that means that there's no hunters left. And here my ally should be able to clear it out, although we have quite a lot of stragglers that almost made it out of the kill box.
Torque sees you. Helo inbound.
Just want to see what my ally on the healing build is, which could actually remember to. Okay. So yeah, there wasn't a FI buff, but it didn't feel as strong as a normal FI buff, and that makes sense because they don't have the chest of FI. They do have empathic resolve, which can kind of work, but is a lot less consistent usually than just a normal FI. There's a reason normal FIs are with chest usually. And yeah, there's no reason to stick around for the next chopper.
Nice work. You stabilized the power grid in this region.
Actually, I just noticed there it's showed as 86 coins, which is...
Safe area entered.
Oh yeah, we only had one of the hunters at the start, so missing out on 2 more makes that much of a difference. So yeah, I very much want to have an electric chest, which is skill haste status effect, and it would have been this if it wasn't that I was a Henry. And that's just so I want to have a free talentable one on my rework of the Glass Eclipse. Just so I can recalibrate it to be a different talent whenever I want to try out other talents, instead of what I have now is, well, actually, I don't have them anymore, I think. Already tossed them away, but yeah, I used to have several golden chests that filled those roles with different talents on them. But yeah, actually, so this version is likely going to, at least that build as it was there. Actually, find the slot of it again, which is probably around here-ish, yeah. So this build will likely get added tomorrow to my build collection as a replacement for the one that I have currently, which is a fast flatline shotgun variant, which was never really effective, but this kind of works. Especially, yeah, because of the Scorpio making it easy. I'm gonna do one more countdown, I feel, and that's going to be likely it for me for this evening, but I should have a lot more time coming up these coming few days, and I'm planning on spending a lot of it streaming, so especially tomorrow I'll do likely one in the afternoon and one in the evening. And I'll grab a red ongoing directive, which isn't the common build, as common as a red patriot or red FI, but it is I would consider it just below red FI as the good buffers.
You have received an invite to another agent's group. You have joined a group.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing from a few people that have DM'd me of, hey, I watched the stream VODs and stuff. I'm glad they, that people are enjoying it. And I'm enjoying doing it, so it all works out. Although from, the way that Twitch works, they only stay up for 7 days, I believe, currently. So I have saved the other ones. I'm not sure. Well, so far I've basically been recording alongside all of the streams. I was considering maybe putting them on YouTube or something, but I don't want them on the channel because that's going to it's not the same content as my other content where I actually try to somewhat be a little bit more direct or have a goal in mind, where these are a lot more just me just playing around and talking and hanging out. But I was thinking of maybe making a second channel and making them live there, even though I will likely not be as high in views or anything, but just to have them somewhere. As I could also use them from time to time just to go back into and get some footage from them for some stuff if I need them. We have that hardcore player with us again. This one, this time it is the same one. I'm going to see if I can get a foam out before the disrupt happens. He is immune to status effects, which hinders ongoing directive by quite a lot. And the status effect one is going to be on the other end. It's going to be the one that the other team... oh no, it's going to be the one in the middle. So we're going to not be hitting it pretty soon. But here, well, I'm dealing a lot less damage because I can't use my own main mechanic, which is to bleed stuff and then, get... extra damage from that. This build still deals enough damage even without it. Enough to kill with. It's interesting that that team already made it up to this point and that there's a turret out here, which, does not... Oh, they came... Okay, yeah, no, I was... I think...
Striker drone detected.
This is kind of a dick move on my part, but just to make this fight a lot easier, they should have gone the normal route and hit the status effect objective, which I'm going to go hit now. Because yeah, that fight, especially with several hunters. Oh, this hunter's on me though. I was hoping they had pulled this guy away already. I'm going to attempt to. He will likely kill me, though. But if you didn't know, on these parts, you can just respawn. If you die, just respawn. If you die all the way. And that's just gonna be it. So I did attempts to get to there, but I couldn't. I wasn't able to.
System restored.
I would hope that that pulled that hunter away. Usually, someone had gone over there and hit that, but. Because yeah, we need that status effect one gone. Like, no Scorpios is making these fights a lot harder than they, for any reason that they need to be. And yeah, that's down to their SHD levels. Well, not just their SHD, but just that's an indication of how new they are. I was out of range for the third one, but I got these two at least. I will grab the dog tags here. They seem to be heading for admin, which... okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Because, yeah, we're going to hit admin, lab, and then whatever the final was. Yeah, and thanks for that, for liking the commentary. That's always one of the things that I went into here as one of my main objectives, was to talk a lot more about how to play the game. as I said as well in my, like, I think even my first videos, is I feel that, yeah, a lot of people mostly talk about builds and stats and stuff like that, but they don't really explain well what the decision making is that leads to those decisions, and also just how to play the builds. But that's usually just as important. Just as down here, luckily. And yeah, you're right. I should actually, because yeah, I did add a YouTube link to the recommended build list thingy that gets shared around a lot. I should actually add the Twitch one in there as well. Yeah, the advertising side of stuff is not my specialty, and I often struggle with, paying attention to it and doing those parts, which isn't the best thing, of course, as someone trying to make content and stuff, but I'm also fine with it. It's worked out well enough so far.
You're closing in on the target.
It's the third time, I think, out of 5 that we've been on the laboratory as the final main mission. It's also surprising to see. I've been keeping an eye on the health bar and armor bar of that hardcore player, and he's usually the first one into objectives and stuff. Going pretty hard.
Secure the air.
Oh, actually, this isn't the main. We're actually second. On the second objective.
Protect the engineer.
One thing I really need to do more is actually mark enemies so that they get killed while they have my mark, and then that that is my group buffing mechanic, of course. So even if I don't have a really good shot, I should just spray and pray on enemies and at least get the mark on them. Also, this build can kill itself, can on its own kill plenty well enough as well. Yeah, it's full red. It's got a glass chest. Just gonna pop that just as the CC of this group, even though it will catch all my allies as well. It will save us all from going down.
Rogue artillery turret detected.
What I haven't checked for is the chest, and oh no, I should have looted the chest already. So is this one?
High risk hostile.
And he has flame rounds. The only very much downside of this build is I'm running a Carnage, and that means that I'm taking the full reload on an LMG, which really hurts. But the Carnage with its extra 5% is
Agent.
very much the choice. It's the same as going from a normal flatline weapon to one that the Kingbreaker, one that is perfect flatline. Loot there as well. Somebody went into the VIP as well. Actually, I just noticed that that its health bar is active, and they will die, and that objective will fail. During the extraction as well, I'm actually gonna quickly inspect that hardcore player just to see what their playtime actually is, because yeah, their SHG level is of course not the same as their normal one, so you can't really guess from that. And that's the VIP dying there.
Agent, you've reached the turbine.
But yeah, luckily
You can
we
fix the power grid.
had 2 other ones that we could do. It's a good thing that you don't get a penalty for that, actually. Like if it costs you 10 coins or something, that would actually
You're
be
in.
annoying.
We need to switch the power over to the new grid.
Evacuate the facility.
The chest is not up there.
Electrical grid in danger of failure. Warning.
They're hitting that one.
Transformers. Safety.
I'm gonna go for the first position.
You're gonna need to expose the transformers and remove any busted fuses.
I'm gonna make my way over
Power to stabilize.
here, and yeah. Usually that first shock is before you can actually reach over there, so.
I think the floor is electrified. Watch your step, Agent.
I'm gonna hit this and go for that ally because I'm really the only one in range of him.
High-risk target detected.
I'm not gonna use my hive to get him up because actually, can I get him from up here? I can't actually get him up here. He might get up and get shocked right away. No, okay, he didn't. Because yeah, there's the shock would have interrupted the animation there anyway. I saw several people over there, so I was expecting them to yeah do what they did there. It's over there. I already saw somebody going for it, so doubling back. And now it's in that back corner. I'm just gonna go for that weak point over there. Also mark an enemy. So when they die, all my allies get the buff, the extra bleed rounds.
Now you just need to switch over to the new.
But yeah, that's important to do as an ongoing directive. Is even if you don't have good shots on enemies, just pepper them. Getting a hit on them will mark them, and that's going to be enough to give your allies the special ammo. Okay, they are doing the main objective up there, so I'll just leave them to that. Yeah, just marking several enemies. I'm gonna start working on that heavy.
Serious trauma detected.
And that should be the last enemy over there. Oh, that one was so close to
The power
being the right stats.
Get the hell out of there. Shoot off a flare so Torres knows.
But luckily that piece shouldn't be as hard to farm as the time that I invested into the golden piece long time ago. As it is a yellow core piece, so it does drop with yellow stats more often than not, so. And seeing as I'm after 2 yellow stats, it shouldn't be too hard, you would think, but sometimes the the game really bites into not giving you what you're after, which is like very much still the case for a closer chest. I have farmed for one for quite a while, as I would need one more for one character,
Get on that heel.
for a build on a character. And the game has denied me that one for quite a while. But that one is, of course, is 2 red minor attributes on a blue court piece, which is already rare, and that one doesn't drop as often as these ones. Gonna pepper over the enemies so several things have my mark, and then my allies will get half a mag's worth. I'm gonna push up here
Striker drone detected.
and move up with this ally.
System curtailed.
It's gonna pepper those guys as well.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Going to see actually how covered he is. He's in cover, so I'll go for him. He should be gettable here. I can't use my hive anyway. It's on cooldown, or it's disrupted. I'm gonna kill this guy. He needs to go away.
Knows you're ready to go.
I'm going to put a flame grenade over there.
Your location.
Okay, he's of a level that, yeah, it's it's understandable that he does not know. Although now we need to kill those remaining 3 hunters in we have about 20 seconds. Going to make sure I grab all of the loot. Something got hacked there.
System restored.
Ready for extraction.
I'm interested in getting the loot of the hunters and then just bugging out. There's no because yeah, we have we're in quite short time. That also means that it's not going to be worth it to type out to that player, so they understand what they should not do the next time. But hopefully, yeah, hopefully for a future one they'll look at their allies and see what they're doing. That's usually how people learn that one, is just by, okay, nobody else is doing it, must be a reason. And that's also likely going to be it for me. I'm gonna clean out this character real quick, just the inventory.
Looking for something?
And I'll likely do a little bit of streaming tomorrow as well, where in the afternoon I'll likely add those few builds into the Hangout a little bit and just add those few build changes that I have to that Hunter's Fury and several of the Eclipses into the build collection, and likely just pick something to do as well afterwards. And then in the evening I will come back and I'm have a few ideas of maybe something to run. One thing I still also need to put some time into is Descent, as I've very much barely played it, which is, you know, something I should catch up on as well. If I'm going to add a specific pistol determinant, I don't think so. So I usually avoid putting in builds that are not working with, or with pieces that are not as intended, although I am going to put in a double companion, of course, into it. But at least that one I feel will still work, even if it gets any changes. But determined until they basically come out and like flat out say, yes, this is how we intended to work. And it's from someone that also like kind of knows things, like Morton. Because yeah, in the past they've also come out and said, yes, we intended to work it this way with Heartbreaker, for instance, and then later change their minds. So I usually avoid that, but also I'm not very much of a Headhunter player, but also, so I recently actually put in a Hotshot build. That's actually, I mean, that also has a, it's not specifically built towards pistols, but it will work fine enough with pistols. I do have several Regulus builds, and that's mostly where I actually still feel is like, without going into Determined, is where like that build should be at. And it's already way too strong in that way. And then Determined kind of almost feels dirty, I would say. But one of the things I'm considering for actually in the future, and I'm hoping on working on that a little bit this coming summer. So I want to have folders in the build collection where I basically put in several variants and maybe even put them in sort of an order of like the best one first, or what I would consider the best one first, and then work my way down. Because I have a lot of builds that are variations of things that I have, but I don't specifically have them as a loadout. For instance, the several ways that you can do strikers with Elmos, without Elmos. All of them could be a different build picture, but if I just have strikers and then I variant it out to what I need it to be. But yeah, that could very much, that's a long time plan. Was hoping to do it actually months ago, but life got in the way. But now life is a lot easier, so I'll do some catching up. Regulus is tied still only to the raids, to Iron Horse specifically. It's with a project of it, so you're basically guaranteed it, but it takes several weeks to get it done. Usually, for most players, it will be 3 weeks, unless you have several or unless you have several characters with which you do it. And yeah, it's not dropping from DZ like the Eagle Bearer or the Ravenous. And if you are even remotely interested in doing the raids, they're not very difficult. There's a little bit of a time investment up front for just watching a few guides and stuff, but neither of them are as hard as some of the other content in some other games. If you have the skill set to basically get through heroics in a decent way, you're basically like it's very much doable. And there are places where that very much are teaching places. So GC Rock is one of the bigger names in that, where there's also a Discord that is tied to that, where they very much help people get it. So sometimes they even have basically carry raids where they just take a person through and just try to see if they can get them one of the or get them the exotics of the raids. But they also have just, learning raids where you just tag along and people teach along the way. So, but yeah, it's very much doable. It's not outside of the realm of possibilities. And even on Xbox, as you say, you are. It's I believe they have very much teams on all platforms. I believe that actually they're very active on the consoles, sometimes even more so than the PC sides of things. So yeah, but I mean, if you're interested, you can always look into those kinds of things. But also, it's not especially nowadays with determined. the none of the items tied to the raids are completely necessary. Regulus provides a few things that no other piece can do with its headshot explosions. But still, like plenty of people work around it by not having them. But yeah, thank you all for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be around tomorrow again if you are interested in joining then as well. So yeah, have fun and have a good night.